The Houston Texans and San Francisco 49ers met for a matchup yesterday where I think a lot of people were somewhat expecting the Niners to beat Houston, even maybe somewhat handedly. But yesterday's win for the Houston Texans, it was easily their best win of the season after their previous two came against Baltimore and Tennessee, two teams who at the start of yesterday's games combined for two wins. Um, the Houston Texans played their most complimentary game of the season, and I don't just mean the offense was scoring points, the defense was limiting points. The offense played a complementary style of football because they held on to the ball for almost 42 minutes of time. Add in the fact that they actually were scoring points. In fact, they didn't punt the ball away until the fourth quarter yesterday, and both of their punts were like the garbage ish time where they were up 11 points. They really didn't need to try to put the ball in the air or, just risk a turnover. The best way to go about their time was to try to chew the clock and keep the Niners out of the end zone. And, you know, 42 minutes of ball control against the Niners, it's really impressive, especially when you're an offense that's been a bit maligned over these last few weeks. Again, their two wins are against Baltimore and Tennessee. And the other teams that they've played, like the Seahawks or the Jaguars or the Rams or the Buccaneers, the offense has been nowhere near this productive, especially when you throw in the fact that they had 300 yards passing, over 150 yards rushing. They were relying on young players to make a bulk of their production. Woody Marks led the team in rushing with 11 carries for 62 yards. Xavier Hutchinson led the team in receiving, 5 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Higgins scored a touchdown. Jalen Noel had 5 catches for 63 yards. Woody Marks threw in another 50 yards through the air. And so because this Houston offense was so efficient, they were able to keep the clock moving. CJ Stroud only had 9 incompletions yesterday. They were able to keep the foot on the pedal against the Niners defensively because Christian McCaffrey wasn't able to run the ball 10 to 15 times yesterday. And in fact, I think yesterday was it's easily been the least productive day of the year for Christian McCaffrey. 11 touches over the entire course of the game for 68 yards, and two of those plays were somewhat chunk plays towards the end of the game, where again it was kind of in garbage time, and so yesterday you hold Christian McCaffrey to probably not only this year easily his least productive day, but almost since he's become a Niner. And since basically 2020 when Christian McCaffrey started taking off as a really good every down back that can run the ball and catch the ball out of the backfield, this has been one of his least productive days. And if you're a Houston Texans fan, like I am, you're super excited about the fact that offensively you're scoring points and defensively you're limiting the other team's best player. You're still able to get a couple of sacks on Mac Jones. You're still able to just have a good day overall. We haven't seen the Houston Texans put everything together over the course of one game. It's either been, it's pretty much just been the 4 losses have been a defensive, a really good defensive matchup without much showing on offense, or it's the 2 wins against really bad teams where defensively, you could almost throw anyone out there against the Ravens a few weeks ago with no Lamar, or the week before with Cam Ward. But this week against this San Francisco 49ers team, not only does it get you the win, it gets you to 3-4. You've won 3 of your last 4 games, and you're only lost, even though I know there was a touchdown late in the Seahawks game that, makes the score closer than it really was. But your one loss in your last month of football is an 8-point loss in Seattle against an offense that nobody has had an answer for Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I'm not going to be up in arms about the fact that he killed us in that game. But it's we're at a pretty good spot right now if we're the Houston Texans. But we've got a tough few weeks ahead of us. We've got Denver in Jacksonville, in Houston these next 2 weeks, with a chance to get back to 5-4. Not only a chance to get to 5-4, but a chance to make some noise in the playoff picture. Because if we beat Jacksonville, if we beat Denver, we're over 500. We're moving up, and again, we just have a chance to actually make some noise in the playoffs. When a few weeks ago, that was looking like it was almost laughable to say that that was a possibility. For the 49ers, this brings them to 5-3 after a 3-0 start against Seattle, New Orleans, and Arizona. The Niners have lost 3 of their last 5. Now, their 2 wins are against good teams. They're against the Rams and they're against the Falcons. Their 3 losses now against Jacksonville, in Tampa Bay, and at Houston. I think this is just, if you're a good football team like the Niners are that are going through injuries, you're going to lose games every once in a while against good teams that aren't as hampered by those injuries. And I think these next few weeks, the Niners got the New York Giants next week. It's going to be interesting to see how New York is going to alter their own game plan after Cam Scadaboo had his ankle injury. And then after that, you have the Rams and the Cardinals. So I think at 5-3, the San Francisco 49ers, they're sitting at a pretty good spot. The Rams had a bye week this week, and so the Niners still are, even though now they're in the 3rd spot in the NFC West, they're still tied for wins with the Seahawks and the Rams. And so it still is shaping up to be a pretty good season for San Francisco. Yesterday, they just really didn't have a chance to make a move with the ball in their hands. And I think that was really the hardest part about yesterday's game, if you're a Niners fan, is there just wasn't a chance to do much. And you kind of hope going forward your defense is able to make some more plays. They did technically have a turnover. And, C.J. Stroud's interception was pretty dumb at the end of the first half. It was pretty dumb to be calling pass plays in the first place. There was 14 seconds left, and the Houston Texans were towards their own 30, I believe. And when C.J. Stroud throws that interception, it's like, wow, the Niners are going to somehow manage to get more points on the board before the end of the half. They're going to make it a 1-score game and then possibly come back after halftime and take the lead. But Diamador Lenore, he almost matched stupidity for stupidity by running out the clock. He had a chance to just take a knee with a few seconds left and trot out the San Francisco kicker to try to put points on the board, but he ended up letting the clock run out. So if you're San Francisco going forward, you want to see your defense. They didn't sack C.J. Stroud yesterday. In fact, C.J. Stroud looked the best he has in a while. So again, going forward, if you're a Niners fan, you want to see a little bit more pressure put on the opposing quarterback by your team. That's going to be today's video, possibly a video later tonight after the Monday night game. If you have a certain team or game you want me to talk about, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.